Welcome back to Buy or Buy. Today we're looking at the 2020 to 2026 Mercedes-AMG A45 S, the W77 second-generation hyperhatch from Alfalterbach, the first production engine in history to break 200 horsepower per liter, the most powerful four-cylinder in series production, hand-built one engine at a time, five-door hatchback, four-cylinder, 4MATIC Plus with drift mode. Welcome to AMG Money Pit territory. 421 horsepower from a 2-liter four-cylinder, 369 pound-feet, 8-speed dual clutch, 3.9 seconds to 60, 50 grand-pounds new, 35 grand used. Mercedes 22nd of 32 in reliability. All right, let's break this explainer down into 4 analytical sections to see if this Alfalterbach marvel actually deserves your hard-earned cash. Section 1. Who and cross-shop. So who is actually buying this thing? Well, the buyer profile strictly pits lapsed first-generation A45 AMG buyers and spec chasers against Civic Type R graduates hunting for all-wheel drive, alongside AMG brand loyalists wanting an affordable entry point. Oh, and a quick reminder for my American friends, US buyers are completely locked out of this party, only ever receiving the CLA 45 sedan. The cross-shop battlefield here is absolutely savage. Buyers are weighing it against the 401 horsepower Audi RS3 8Y at 62,805 pounds, the manual Honda Civic Type R FL5 at 50,000 pounds, or the VW Golf R MK8 at 45,000 pounds. Others are considering the 42,000 BMW M135, stepping up to a rear-drive M2 G87 at 64,000 pounds, or even cross-shopping the 75,000 Lotus Emira, which, fun fact, shares this exact same M139 engine. Bottom line, the A45 S is exclusively for the European buyer who prioritizes absolute spec sheet dominance and AMG brand loyalty over practical performance value. Section 2. The Gems. Let's talk about every glorious engineering reason this vehicle exists in the first place. 200. This right here is the defining engineering milestone of the W177. The hand-built M139 2.0-liter turbo is literally the first production engine ever to eclipse 200 horsepower per liter. It hits exactly 211. It defines AMG's one-man, one-engine philosophy, complete with that iconic Afterbach signature plaque stamped right there on the cover. Built on some serious Nürburgring development heritage, it launched back in 2020. Then, it received a strictly cosmetic October 2022 refresh that added those sweet mode switches to the steering wheel. And later, it went on to claim the 2024 What Car Hot Hatch of the Year award. Now, mechanically speaking, the 4MATIC Plus all-wheel drive system uses AMG torque control with independent rear-wheel clutch packs. And you know what that means? It allows a genuine dedicated drift mode alongside Sport Plus and race modes. That is a party trick entirely unique among hot hatches. Literally no rival matches this specific mechanical wizardry. Add in a Borg-Warner twin-scroll turbo utilizing a low-friction roller-bearing shaft, standard adaptive damping, 19-inch forged wheels, and massive Brembo 6-piston 360mm front discs. Plus, you get the defining AMG Aerodynamic package, giving you those aggressive front canards and the rear wing as standard on the S model. Inside, you've got the MBUX 10.25-inch touchscreen and optional Burmester audio. Bottom line, at a 50,570-pound entry point, it's an engineering marvel that undercuts the M2 G87 by 14,000 pounds and the RS3 by 12,000 pounds. Section 3. The Issues. But hey, gravity always wins, right? Let's aggressively examine every known mechanical problem dragging this hyperhatch down. The critical faults hit fast and they hit hard. To improve aerodynamics, Mercedes essentially shoved the turbocharger between the engine block and the firewall, which creates severe heat management challenges. Worse yet, complex water pump coolant leaks are hidden completely underneath the exhaust manifold, making service exorbitantly expensive. And that 8-speed AMG SPEEDSHIFT DCT? Oh boy. It routinely develops a harsh, grinding cold engagement crunch. You'll also face ADAS sensor malfunctions, throwing radar dirty, and pre-safe errors, along with intermittent CAN bus and 4MATIC faults. Visually, the paint triggers immense financial danger. I'm talking severe lacquer bubbling on Mars Red and Jupiter Red finishes that actually resulted in a 2024 class action settlement. But here is the kicker. While the settlement covers Mars Red with an extended warranty, Jupiter Red owners are not officially covered. That leaves them completely exposed to full respray costs ranging from 2,000 to 5,000 euros. Ouch. Your wallet is constantly under siege here. A DCT rebuild risks 3,000 to 6,000 euros. OEM front brake pads just vanish in a mere 20,000 to 30,000 kilometers with hard driving, and replacement set will rob you of 700 to 1,200 euros. Furthermore, the front rotors easily warp under heavy track use. But maybe the starkest metric of all? Mercedes-Benz placed a dismal 22nd out of 32 brands in the 2024 What Car Reliability Survey. And you definitely feel it with those interior plastics inherited from the base A-class that frequently cause dashboard rattles. Combine that unreliability with the notoriously and absurdly firm suspension, even in comfort mode. It also has a hefty 1,635 kilogram curb weight that dulls agility, constant highway noise, a strict diet of premium 98 RON minimum fuel, and the lingering frustration that this hatchback form was never sold in the US. Also, because this engine is so highly strong right out of the factory, aftermarket-tuned cars heavily overstress the already fragile DCT. Bottom line, the AMG badge attached to this highly stressed, complex drivetrain absolutely guarantees painful running costs and mechanical fragility. Verdict: buy. The 2020-2026 Mercedes-AMG A45 S W177 is undeniably one of the most impressive engineering achievements in hot hatch history. I mean, achieving 421 horsepower from 2.0 liters and hitting 62 miles per hour in 3.9 seconds is just staggering. But it is a definitive buy. Buy never knew, depreciation and those exotic AMG running costs guarantee absolute pain. The spec sheet simply cannot mask the reality of complex water pump coolant leaks, DCT cold engagement crunching, and bubbling red paint. The buy criteria are strict here, folks. Walk away from any pre-refresh model painted Mars or Jupiter red, any car exhibiting DCT crunching, any vehicle with a faint coolant smell, and absolutely any tuned car. Don't even risk it. If you are truly desperate for the badge, hunt down a 2023 refresh under £42,000 with a documented paint inspection, Mercedes service history, and a verified DCT cold engagement test. But practically, you should cross-shop the $50,000 Civic Type R FL5 with its brilliant manual gearbox and Honda reliability, or the Golf R MK8 at $45,000. Bottom line, the 4MATIC Plus Drift mode is unique for sure, but it simply doesn't justify the AMG service line. So I leave you with this final provocative thought. Do you take the brutal financial risk on Affilterbox Ultimate 421 horsepower drift mode wizardry just to own a piece of history? Or do you take the smart money to Honda for a dependable manual transmission you can actually drive every day? Let that sink in.